Hollywood loved him for 40 years. Now they're running away. Bill Murray threw an ashtray that smacked Richard Dreyfuss's head. He moved Lucy Liu to tears on the set. He trapped a young woman under his body and then kissed her without her consent. There were multiple terrible days. Nobody dared to bring up the decades of mistreatment. A $20 million movie was canceled by Disney because of him. He didn't spoken to his best friend for 20 years. The truth has now come to light, and it is much worse than anyone could have imagined. Bill Murray was born in Evanston, Illinois, on September 21, 1950. His mother worked in the Postal Service, and he had 8 siblings. His father sold timber. Bill was raised in the Wilmot suburb of Chicago. Typically, the house was noisy, crowded, and a little messy. Maybe that's when his sense of humor started to grow. You had to speak up in order to be heard in that kind of situation. The counties of Cork and Galway in Ireland were the source of his Irish Catholic heritage. His family and faith had a big impact on his life, but tragedy struck when he was only 17. His father passed away from diabetes-related issues, leaving the family without a parent and Bill without the man he most respected. As a child, Bill took comfort in reading about American heroes like Davy Crockett. He also worked as a golf caddy to help pay for school. During those long hours on the golf course, he began to analyze people in a way that would eventually show up in his comedy. After graduating from high school, he enrolled in a pre-med program at a Denver college. But something didn't feel quite right. He didn't want to be a doctor, so he quit school right away and went home. Years later, the same university awarded him an honorary degree, primarily for his cultural impact rather than his academic accomplishments. Around this time, something happened that could have ruined everything. On his 20th birthday, Bill tried to smuggle roughly 10 pounds of marijuana into Chicago's O'Hare Airport but was apprehended. His joke to a fellow passenger that he had a bomb in his suitcase led to a search. He was put on probation rather than sent to jail. However, the encounter caused him to rethink his life. Comedy then entered the scene, signaling a significant shift. Bill's older brother, Brian Doyle Murray, was already involved in the Chicago comedy scene. He invited Bill to join the Second City, a well-known comedy troupe known for launching lucrative careers. Bill accepted. That decision would change everything. The famous comedian Del Close trained Bill at Second City. Close encouraged actors to be brave, unconventional, and truthful. He assisted Bill in perfecting his unique deadpan delivery. He learned to make even the most dire circumstances funny. That style would be the focus of his subsequent work. During one performance, a heckler pushed him too far. The story goes that Bill accompanied the man to the hospital and bought him a beer after breaking his arm. He took the stage with that kind of insane zeal. In 1974, Bill moved to New York City. He received an invitation to take part in the National Lampoon Radio Hour, a radio comedy show, thanks to John Belushi. The cast included future stars Harold Ramos, Gilda Radner, Chevy Chase, and Dan Aykroyd. They were all strangers trying to make each other laugh back then. It was an intimate group that acted as a launching pad for something far bigger. But before Bill reached NBC's Saturday Night Live, he took a strange detour. In 1975, he was chosen to appear on Howard Costel's Saturday Night Live on ABC. The midnight variety show's host was a sportscaster with no background in comedy. Bill, his brother Brian, and Christopher Guest gained television experience despite the show's quick demise. NBC mocked the ABC show when it premiered Saturday Night Live by saying that its cast wasn't ready for prime time. The joke stuck. Bill replaced Chevy Chase on Saturday Night Live on NBC in 1977. It was a challenging performance. The audience was skeptical. His first sketches didn't work. There was also tension in the background. When Chevy returned to hosting in 1978, he and Bill got into a violent argument backstage just before the event started. Bill described him as an average skill. They had to perform together shortly after. Years would pass as their hostility festered. Bill persisted, though, and created some of the show's most iconic characters. One of his biggest hits was Nick the Lounge Singer, a cheesy nightclub artist who sang popular tunes with ridiculous confidence. His version of the Star Wars theme became well known due to its fake lyrics. That character captured everything that made Bill special. Strangely dry, absurd, and real. During his time on Saturday Night Live, he maintained a strong relationship with Gilda Radner both on and off screen. The highs and lows of the nerdy kids they played in a frequent comedy were mirrored in their real-life relationship. They fought all the time. Sporadically in the performer's presence. There was true love underneath it all. Gilda was the only person who could make Bill laugh, he once said. At times, she would laugh so hard that she would run out of the room, and at other times, she would physically urinate herself. Even though their relationship ended, her death years later had a profound impact on Bill. He never forgot her. During his time on the show, Bill won an Emmy for his writing. That gave him the credibility he needed to emerge in Hollywood. He soon found himself in the lead roles of Ghostbusters, Stripes, Caddyshack, and Meatballs. His caustic, oddball humor stood out in a world of louder, more expansive entertainment. His time on Saturday Night Live taught him character development, timing, and how to make people laugh without trying too hard. He would return to Saturday Night Live for its 50th anniversary years later and won another Emmy, this time for drama. He reprised his role as Nick the Lounge Singer with the help of other cast members of all ages. He later admitted that he had cried 3 times while watching the tribute films. That night he was reminded of the beginning. Bill Murray's film career began in 1979 with the release of the short film Meatballs. Given that it was a cheap comedy shot in Canada, nobody expected it to do much. However, when it was premiered in theaters, a strange thing happened. It became quite well liked. It started out in a few theaters in Toronto but soon turned a healthy profit. Millions of people were drawn to it as it swiftly swept over North America. It became the most successful Canadian film at the time and gave Murray his first significant part in a motion picture. Everyone appreciated his relaxed, satirical style, which quickly became his signature. The director of Meatballs, Reitman, also benefited from this film. It would not be the last time Murray and Reitman worked together. During this time, Murray also worked with writer and actor Harold Ramis. They worked together on some of the most well-known comedies of the early 1980s, such as Stripes, Ghostbusters, and Caddyshack. They were the perfect bunch. Ramis had a sharp sense of humor, and Murray had a talent for expressing it. Their biggest smash and a worldwide sensation in 1984 was Ghostbusters, a crazy comedy about scientists who hunt ghosts. But Murray's path to success wasn't always clear-cut. That year, he decided to try something new. He had strong sentiments about turning the grim novel The Razor's Edge into a movie after reading it. The studio wasn't sure, but Murray got a good deal. He would only be a star in Ghostbusters if they paid for The Razor's Edge, which they did. When it was released, though, the audience didn't connect with it. The movie received mixed reviews from critics and was a financial failure. According to others, he was incapable of playing a tragic role. Others were more moved by his performance. Nevertheless, the failure had a profound effect on him. Then Murray disappeared from view. He studied philosophy and history, traveled throughout Europe, and spent time with his family. Although Murray needed a break, it was a strange decision for someone who had recently become well-known. He spent years avoiding high-budget films. When he finally returned with Scrooge and Ghostbusters 2, the response wasn't what he had anticipated. Many people liked the movies, even though they didn't make as much money as they had hoped. In the early 1990s, he started making appearances in poorly regarded comedies including Larger Than Life and The Man Who Knew Too Little. Studios began to wonder if he could still afford a film. During this period, Murray's distance from Hollywood grew. He didn't like the way things were done behind the scenes. He didn't want to perform the same roles over and over again, thus he wasn't interested in scripts. After a while he did something strange. He stopped using agents or managers altogether. He consequently became hard to reach, even for big studios. He admitted that he had become fastidious and almost lazy in his search for the right parts. In 1990, he made another effort. He co-directed the excellent heist comedy Quick Change, in which he also starred as the main. Critics hailed it as one of his best performances, praising it. However, the box office wasn't too favorable. The poor box office reception of the film only strengthened Murray's belief that Hollywood was no longer the proper place for him. But then came Groundhog Day in 1993. The movie came at the ideal time. The narrative was funny and strange. As a man caught in a recurrent recreation of the same day, Murray had the chance to show a deeper aspect. He and director Harold Ramis frequently disagreed on tone during the filming process. Murray wanted it to be more reflective, whereas Ramis wanted it to be light. Because of the intense strain, they completely stopped communicating, and it would be over 20 years before they spoke again. However, all of that friction might have been advantageous. Murray's nuanced portrayal was hailed by critics. The world was reminded of his extraordinary talent by the well-known movie. Groundhog Day was the pivotal moment in his life. It proved that he was not merely a comedian. It later cleared the path for more difficult passages, like Lost in Translation, in which he demonstrated even more emotional complexity. For that movie, he would receive an Oscar nomination. Looking back, Bill Murray's path through the 1980s and beyond wasn't a simple one. He had both tremendous success and challenging failures. Instead of taking the usual route to stardom, he decided to carve out his own route, taking measured risks and turning back when things didn't feel right. It was not Bill Murray's goal to return. He had no desire to gain recognition or prove himself. But in 1998, something unexpected would change the trajectory of his career. He happened to meet young filmmaker Wes Anderson. A few years before, Anderson had tried in vain to get Murray to star in his first movie, Bottle Rocket. Rushmore came next. Within a week of distributing the script, Anderson was able to get in touch with the office of a Disney executive. At that very moment, Anderson happened to be in the same office. They had a meeting after that phone call, and soon after, they met in person in Los Angeles. Murray took over the bar below, danced, and bought steak for the whole squad. He wasn't merely on board. Nor did he ask for a high salary. Instead, believing in the screenplay, Murray took the lowest possible salary of just $9,000. He claimed that it was about maintaining kindness in the face of suffering that resonated with him and manifested. In Rushmore, he showed a side of himself that the public had never seen before. Silent, introspective, and emotionally unfiltered. He would later be named the godfather of the film by Anderson. Rushmore was a turning point for Murray. Up until that point, the man from Groundhog Day and Ghostbusters was mostly known for being funny. However, he wanted more. He looked for deeper sections. He found them with Anderson's help. Murray portrayed a character in the Royal Tenenbaums who was so emotionally repressed that he hardly seemed to be alive. Steve Zissou in The Life Aquatic. He was an intrepid scuba diver on a strange quest to find the shark that killed his companion. He managed to make the character feel strong and completely vulnerable at the same time. Murray's new strength was that blend of sadness and comedy. Alongside Owen Wilson and Angelica Houston, Murray was one of Anderson's most reliable performers by 2004, and their collaboration grew even further. Murray later starred in 10 of Anderson's productions. More than 2 decades. Every time he brought anything new, it was always unexpected, sometimes broken, sometimes nice. The relationship between them was growing behind the scenes. Years later, Murray remarked on Anderson's progress since Rushmore during a Berlin film screening. He gave credit to Anderson's 2007 collaboration with producer Steve Rails for assisting Anderson in discovering his creative boundaries. Murray eventually needed little guidance. He would simply inquire if things wasn't clear. But for the most part, he had complete faith in Anderson. There was a great deal of trust. Murray didn't think twice about Anderson's decision to get into animation with Isle of Dogs. He joined in. He maintained the same tone and intensity that made their live-action movies so remarkable, even in a voice role. Murray also joined Anderson right away when he started working on a new project in 2024. No plot details are required. From the beginning, their creative collaboration attracted notice. Murray won Best Supporting Actor at the Independent Spirit Awards after Rushmore, and critics all around the nation took note. He was even nominated for a Golden Globe. And as a testament to its impact, the movie was chosen for preservation by the Library of Congress years later. It was a unique performance that caught the attention of critics. According to one, Anderson had been astute to avoid making it too sentimental. Another praised Murray's heartfelt approach to the story while keeping it clever and humorous. Murray and Anderson changed each other's careers together. Murray, who was previously just the funny guy, evolved into something more, while Anderson cemented his position as a unique director. A famous actor who could make you laugh and break your heart. Initially, Bill Murray was most recognized as the witty idiot from films like Groundhog Day and Ghostbusters. However, when he played a quiet, reflective role in Lost in Translation in 2003, everything changed. He portrayed Bob Harris, an elderly performer who was stuck in Tokyo while filming advertisements for whiskey and contemplating the fate of his life. Although it was a strange and isolating location, he found someone who could relate to him there. There was no loud humor or flashy action throughout the film. It all came down to quiet moments, brief looks, and feeling lost, not just in a city, but in your own life. Despite having a very small budget, the film became a huge hit. Murray's admiration among critics was unwavering. They believed that he expressed a great deal of emotion without saying anything. A quick look or pause can convey a lot. People weren't expecting that kind of performance from him. And that's why it was so interesting. He received his first and only Best Actor Oscar nomination as a result. This wasn't just a great part for Murray, it was a game changer. Murray emerged as the clear favorite as the awards season approached. He earned the BAFTA, the Golden Globe, and the approval of the majority of reviewers. It seemed as though he would also win the Oscar, but on the big night, something unexpected occurred. Sean Penn won the prize for Mystic River. Murray later expressed his surprise. He thought he would win the Oscar because he had won all the other awards, but looking back, he saw the defeat differently. He claimed to have learned something from it. Even when you think you don't care, it's easy to become enmeshed in the want for more. He was cautioned not to chase rewards that evening. Murray didn't let the Oscar slow him down. He kept choosing parts that were important to him. Not just those that provided fame or high salaries. He portrayed a father in Broken Flowers who receives a letter suggesting he might have a son, prompting him to set out on a quest to learn the truth. The image was subdued but full of humor and melancholy. He then played a grumpy old man in St. Vincent who becomes a hero to a young lad. Despite their differences, these perspectives have one thing in common. They showed how human and profound Murray could be. He began working mostly with directors who understood how to use his style, such as Wes Anderson and Jim Jarmusch, even when he was playing a character that was rough around the edges. They discovered that Murray could be more than just funny, something that others had been missing for years. He might be sincere. Murray made a spectacular return to television in 2014. Olive Kitteridge was where he was seen. HBO's silent miniseries. Although he didn't stay, his portrayal of a widower trying to make a new connection had a significant impact. He received an Emmy for it since it was so exceptional. It seemed like coming full circle for someone who began on Saturday Night Live and subsequently left television. However, he reappeared this time with a different perception among the crowd. Someone more profound, experienced, and esteemed. Not merely the parts Murray chooses, but also the way he chooses them, are part of what makes him so fascinating today. He has neither a management nor an agency. He doesn't conduct himself in a Hollywood fashion. A director must find a particular phone number, leave a message, and hope he checks it if they want to collaborate with him. He might or might not give you a call back in a week. Some have lamented that they were unable to get in touch with him in time, which cost them the opportunity to cast him. That's the idea, though, for Murray. He's not interested in being pursued. He desires to be captivated. If your script is good enough, you'll find a way to get in touch with him, he joked. By keeping the outside world at bay and only moving forward when something truly drives him, he maintains control. Protecting what counts is more important than being tough. The work, the motivation, the ability to refuse, Bill Murray might have begun as the comical guy with a joke for every situation. He's something more now, though. He has come to represent what it means to grow, to take risks, and to truly care about the stories you tell. In addition to being a well-known actor, Bill Murray is more of a walking legend. He has become somewhat of a legend over the years, not just because of his films but also because of the way he enters people's lives, does something out of the ordinary or amusing, and then disappears as if nothing had happened. One of the most talked about tales dates back to Times Square about 2010. Murray abruptly arrived as a man was eating McDonald's fries, took two without asking, and calmly reassured him that no one would ever believe him. Then he was lost in the throng. His signature phrase for these circumstances was that one statement. He said that in the past, he had appeared out of nowhere, covered a stranger's eyes from behind, and then abruptly vanished. He seems to be part of a prank. Only secondhand is heard by the rest of the world. Although Bill Murray is one of the most well-known actors in Hollywood, many others have a different narrative to share behind the scenes. He was intelligent and humorous, some say. He was difficult to work with, according to others. Richard Dreyfuss told one of the most unexpected tales. In 1991, they were filming What About Bob? Dreyfuss handed Murray a script revision one evening. Murray had been drinking, he said. Murray sprang up in Dreyfuss's face and declared, "Everyone hates you," rather than reading it. "You're accepted." According to Dreyfuss, it got worse. Murray grabbed a heavy glass ashtray and hurled it in his direction. Fortunately, it missed. Murray denied hurling it at Dreyfuss years later. "I threw it toward the ceiling," he said. However, Dreyfuss's assertion was supported by Laura Ziskin, the film's producer. Murray allegedly shattered her sunglasses once. Threatened to hurl her into a lake or perhaps across a parking lot. Lucy Liu's Charlie's Angels story takes place in the year 2000. Murray, according to her, used language that was undesirable and unsuitable. It took place after Murray wrote new lines and distributed them to the team without telling anyone. That wasn't his duty, Liu told him. Those present claim that Murray said something offensive at that point, such as, "I gave you extra lines. Take a look at your companion. Your TV, this is the major lead." Liu didn't remain silent. She swore at him and kept her position. After that, Murray didn't come back for the sequel. Years later, Drew Barrymore complimented Liu for not allowing herself be degraded. Geena Davis also had a terrible incident while filming Quick Change in 1990. She stated Murray shouted at her in front of a crowd because she was late. She also mentioned a situation during her audition. It still bothers her. Murray took out a massage gadget. He named the thumper and insisted on using it on her. She replied, "No," again and again, but he continued pressing. No one else in the room stopped him. Later on the Arsenio Hall program, Davis stated Murray groped her arm on television and even tried to pull down her dress strap. At the time, she tried to laugh it off, but looking back, she termed it dreadful. In 2025, when asked about her tales, branded them absurd and that people were attempting to make him appear like a monster. But one of the longest and darkest confrontations was between Murray and Harold Ramos, his longtime friend and partner. They had created successes like Ghostbusters and Stripes, but everything changed on Groundhog Day. They argued about the tone of the picture. Murray wanted it deep and meaningful. Ramos wanted it hilarious. The fighting grew fierce. At one point, Ramos even grabbed Murray by the collar and shoved him against a wall, something utterly out of character for him. They stopped conversing after that. Murray would contact him late at night to dispute about the writing, then vanish when Ramos tried to answer. They didn't communicate for 20 years. Ramos was sad. They only communicated again immediately before Ramos died in 2014. Then in 2022, another terrible incident occurred. Murray was filming Being Mortal, a movie directed by Aziz Ansari. According to rumors, Murray got too close to a much younger staff member on set. They were near a fake bed when Murray reportedly went on top of her and kissed her through their COVID masks. She stated she was afraid. She couldn't move due of his weight. Another individual witnessed it happen and also filed a report. The studio stopped everything off immediately away. Production halted. The film never recovered. Murray eventually offered his side of the tale. In a 2025 interview, he claimed he thought it was humorous. He stated he'd done the mass kissing thing before and people laughed. He stated the woman wasn't a stranger. They'd had lunch a couple times. He didn't believe it was serious. Even now, he says it still seems foolish to him, but he still confesses he thinks about it regularly. At the same time, he feels he was handled unfairly. He stated he got roasted by the press. Ended up settling with the woman later that year. Reports indicated was over $100,000. Still, the harm was done. The film was cancelled. The whole cast and crew lost their chance to finish it. Years of planning and millions of cash were gone. Even now, Murray thinks the whole affair was misconstrued. He blamed what he called pre-existing conditions, though he didn't define what that meant. He also questioned Disney's harsh restrictions, stating they were harder than other countries. Some interpreted that as an attempt to transfer the blame. Others said it demonstrated he still didn't comprehend why his acts caused so much hurt.